stand for a little bit before we cut it.
The smell is good.
That ain't burnt at all.
Yeah. Okay, and then I mentioned the condensation. Now, of course, it had condensation because it's done. You'll notice with this, these are beans and rice in here, and I've got 2 different pots of beans and rice. This is how I'll know it's done.
Okay.
The casserole that's in that oven, you'll start to see it's just getting a little bit of condensation. That means it's almost done and it'll be done shortly. So I'll serve these in a couple minutes, but you can see I've got the 2 pots of the beans and rice, and they'll be done, and these will be delicious. I'll serve those up in a bit. But
So you sell these pots, or these are just pots that you got from?
no, these are pots that if you obtain a Sun oven, they come. You can get a package with it, or you can get them on our website or Honeyville Farms in Rancho Cucamonga, which I know is a distance from here, but they sell them as well. So I just want to explain focusing. Now, before I went in, I had set the Sun ovens, and these you can see now are just a little bit off, and I'll explain why. But before I went in, I took the Sun ovens and I set them ahead of the sun. So I moved them ahead of where the sun was, so I guessed where the sun would be halfway in the class, and then, I wanted to always keep it ahead of the sun. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to just go ahead of you here. I need everybody behind me and the camera behind me, and then it'll be easier for me to explain the focusing if everybody is behind me. And so what you want to do is set the Sun oven facing the sun, and then look at the shadows the oven casts. If you stand directly behind the oven, you see the shadows are now even on both sides of the oven. So that's the most important part of focusing. Is that they have an oven focused perfectly. You just want it in the sun with the shadows even on both sides of it. Now, as far as using the leg, pretty much from the 1st of May through the end of September, unless you're cooking very early in the morning or in the late afternoon, you don't use the leg in the back of the oven. And when people call me and they say they're not getting temperature in their Sun oven, almost always the reason they're not getting temperature is because they're overusing the back leg. But the way you know the back leg is, once you've got it adjusted with the sun here, you raise it up until the sun is even with the board in the front of the oven, and then you set the pin there. So if you look at the line, and make sure you look from the very side, you think of kind of dropping a plumb line. I want to get out of this direct sunlight. You think of dropping a plumb line from this board down to the ground, or you think of a straight line from the board down to the ground. That's where you want the oven to be perfectly focused. So if the shadow is ahead of it or behind it, see, if I had the leg raised up higher, the shadow goes way ahead, then I'm not getting full sunlight. If I have the leg lower, the shadow goes behind and I'm not getting full sunlight. But if I have it set where the leg is, where the line drops right from here to the ground, then I know I have it focused perfectly. Now again, the key with that is, let me get out of the way, the key with that is that you always leave it ahead of the sun. So when I went in and thought I was going to be in for an hour, then I moved it. Generally it moves about 8 inches an hour. So I moved it about 4 inches because then it had maximum sunlight. If you're going to put food in early in the morning and you want it to cook all day, then if you take and you put it where the sun is at lunchtime, at noon, just facing due south, it'll cook all day. If it's 1 in the afternoon and you want to eat at 5, then you say, well, about 3 o'clock the sun's facing southwest, and you just set it facing southwest. So it's, it's not rocket science, it doesn't have to be exact, but you always want to leave it ahead of the sun, so if the sun's moving, it will keep the light going into the oven. So let me serve up some of the beans and rice, and then we can serve some of the other things. I suspect that, the bread we've got here, and then I suspect that that casserole was probably done at this stage just by the amount. You see, if you look, before they open that, take a look at this oven with the casserole in it. You see how the condensation is starting to build up? In most cases, because that's been in there now for almost 2 hours, that probably means that it's done. and I would check it to know that it's done. You see how we're starting to get condensation building up on the glass, and that generally means the food is done. I've got a cutting board and a knife here.
You can move it, you can turn it towards where the sun is.
Exactly.
Correct, as long as that, okay.
Right.
I'm going to record. Okay, these are examples of things cooked in a solar oven. We got sun-baked dump cake, cherry pie, sausage bisque, delicious looking macaroni and cheese, salmon, chicken and potatoes, Lazy Day peach pie, chicken breasts, nice and browned, chicken and spaghetti, catfish gumbo, apple oatmeal, key lime cheese cake, veggie soup, crawfish cornbread, turnip and sausage stew, nachos. Got passion bars, pulled pork, whole wheat bread, brunch muffins, avocado nut bread, Cajun chicken bake, pinto beans, tomato herb bread, salmon and corn on the cob, cinnamon rolls, cherry cheesecake, turkey in the bag, meatloaf, chicken and couscous, chickpea soup, Asian stock, Spanish rice and corn, delicious bread, and even ribs. Oh, those would be really good. Okay, get out your oven and start cooking.